Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's talk about generative AI. It's complex, it's moving at a breakneck pace, and honestly, it can be pretty overwhelming. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. I'm going to give you a powerful mental model, a new way to see the entire landscape, and finally make sense of it all.
Let's just start with a feeling that I'm pretty sure is familiar to a lot of you. It doesn't matter if you're a student, a working professional, just trying to stay relevant, or a startup founder looking for that next big thing. Everybody feels this pressure from GenAI, and everybody, it seems, is struggling to keep up.
And it's not just about learning, right? It feels like by the time you finally wrap your head around one tool or one concept, bam, a new one drops. Any learning plan you make seems like it's totally out of date within, a month? So how in the world are we supposed to navigate this kind of complexity? How do you find any clarity in all this chaos?
Okay, so here's the big insight, the real key. We've all been searching for a roadmap, right? A step-by-step guide. But what if I told you that in a field that moves this fast, a rigid plan is actually the wrong tool for the job?
Just think about the difference for a second. A roadmap, that just gives you one singular route from point A to point B. It's prescriptive. But a map shows you the entire city. It gives you the whole landscape, which means you get to chart your own course. You can find shortcuts, explore different neighborhoods, and maybe most importantly, you can look at someone else's directions and decide for yourself if they actually make any sense.
Exactly. So what we really need isn't another rigid plan, another checklist of things to learn. We need a mental model. We need a map of the entire GenAI landscape, something that helps you organize every new concept, every tool, every buzzword, and put it in its proper place, so you can see the whole picture. So here it is, this is our map. It's built on 4 key layers, and they're stacked right on top of each other. We're going to go from the very birthplace of ideas all the way to the real-world apps you can actually use. So let's dive in and explore each layer one by one.
All right, first up, the research and foundation layers. Think of this as the journey from a brilliant idea to a tangible, powerful asset.
Okay, everything starts right here in the research layer. I want you to picture this as like a pure science lab. This is where the big foundational ideas are born. We're talking about the breakthroughs, like the famous transformer architecture, that literally power everything else that comes after.
So, who are the people working in this layer? Well, you're looking at PhDs and top researchers at universities like Stanford and MIT, or in the big private labs like Google Brain or OpenAI's research wing. And here's the crucial part. What they produce isn't a product you can go out and buy. Their primary output is knowledge in the form of research papers that the rest of the industry then scrambles to build upon. Okay, moving up a level, we hit the foundation layer. And if the research layer was the lab, this layer is the massive industrial-scale factory. This is where companies take those brilliant ideas from the research papers and pour in absolutely immense resources. I mean, unbelievable amounts of data, computing power, and cash to turn them into actual working AI models. The big players here are the ones you'd expect: Google, OpenAI, Meta. And they're focused on a few really key activities. First, there's the giant-scale training on just mind-boggling amounts of data. Then, there's the super important step of aligning the models to make sure they're safe and helpful. And finally, they often fine-tune these models for specific skills, like getting really good at writing code or understanding medical information.
So what comes out of this factory? The asset itself. The foundation models we all hear about, like GPT-4 or Llama 3. But here's the thing. At this point, it's still just a raw, powerful asset. It's sitting on a company's servers, not really accessible to you or me. It's an engine without a car. So how do we get that powerful engine into a car that people can actually drive? How do these models get into the hands of developers and users? Well, that brings us to our next 2 layers, the platform and builder layers.
Think of the platform layer as the distribution network. It's like the power grid for AI. Its entire job is to take those powerful models from the factory and make them accessible to everyone else through things like APIs and other tools. It's the critical bridge that connects the raw asset to the people who will build with it.
And this access comes in a few different flavors. You've got your direct model APIs, like the ones from OpenAI, which are super easy to use. For bigger companies, you have cloud AI platforms like AWS Bedrock that offer more security and control. Then there's the whole self-hosted world, where you can literally download an open-source model and run it on your own computer. And there are even services that will host those open-source models for you.
And this is a really big deal.
Because of this platform layer, that incredible, almost unimaginable power of these giant models isn't locked away in a corporate vault anymore. It's available to, well, to all of us. Anyone can now tap into this intelligence and start building things.
So that's the big question, isn't it? We have access to all this raw intelligence. What do we actually build with it? How do we turn it into something useful?
And that brings us to the top of our map, the builder layer. Welcome to the workshop. This is where the real magic happens. It's where developers and AI engineers take that raw intelligence from the platform layer and start adding new capabilities, building intelligent systems that solve actual real-world problems. And this is where you see all these amazing techniques pop up. We're talking way beyond just basic prompt engineering. You have things like RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, which is a fancy way of saying you can connect the model to your private data so it can answer questions about things it was never trained on. And then you have agentic AI, which is all about giving these models tools so they can take actions for you, like booking a flight or scraping a website. It's incredible.
And that right there is the whole point of the builder layer. It's what transforms a model that's fundamentally just a very fancy next word predictor into a genuine problem-solving system. A system that can reason, use your data, and take action in the world.
Okay, let's zoom out. We've built our map, so let's take a look at the whole thing and see what it tells us about the future.
So here you have it, the entire GenAI value chain, laid out in 4 simple steps. Research creates the knowledge, the foundation layer creates the asset, the model itself, the platform layer creates access to that asset, and finally, the builder layer creates the solution, the application. Now, anytime you hear about some new company or a new piece of tech, you can ask yourself, okay, where on the map does this live? And it'll all make sense.
And that's really the most important thing here. This map isn't just a theory. It's a practical tool for you. You can use it to figure out where you are right now, and more importantly, where you want to go. You can look at a new course or a new tool and critically evaluate it. Does it cover the whole map or just one tiny corner? You are now in control of your own learning journey.
So, we've given you the map. The whole city is laid out in front of you. Every street, every destination, every possible route. The only question left is, what's your roadmap going to be?